on West Dakota Fox News at 9. Residents spring into action to save their neighbors after their apartment complex goes up in flames. Plus, fighting addiction in our own backyard. And some major news out of Washington today. We'll show you the powerhouse choosing to leave the house.
This is West Dakota Fox News at 9 with Molly Martinez and meteorologist Henry Blakes. Your first news of the night starts right now on West Dakota Fox News at 9.
Good evening, I'm Molly Martinez. Freight comes into the area in different ways, and Bismarck and Mandan officials are looking for ways to better move the cargo through the area. Megan Hoffman is here to tell us how.
Tonight, the Bismarck-Mandan Metropolitan Planning Organization hosted a public meeting to get public feedback on what they think needs to be done.
And an update on that winter storm coming up in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Henry. Today, Republican Tom Campbell tells us he's withdrawing from the U.S. House race. At a news conference in Fargo, Campbell endorsed Kelly Armstrong. Armstrong, a state senator from Dickinson, won the endorsement of the North Dakota Republican Party at the state convention last weekend in Grand Forks. Today, we spoke to Secretary of State Al Jaeger, who says despite the announcement, Campbell's name will remain on the ballot. Also on the political front, a major announcement out of Washington. Speaker of the House Paul Ryan tells us he will not seek re-election. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard has more from Capitol Hill.
In a surprise announcement, Speaker Ryan says this will be his last year in Congress. Ryan, who became Speaker in 2015, plans to serve out his full term, but he won't be running for re-election in November, retiring from politics in January.
It's been a wild ride, but it's been a journey well worth taking to be able to do my part to strengthen the American idea. That pursuit is never ending.
Ryan was first elected to Congress 20 years ago. He's built a solid record as a fiscal conservative, but also butted heads with President Trump, with some colleagues saying they were never able to forge the type of working relationship either had hoped for.
It's been a little bit of a difficult marriage from the beginning. They're very different in terms of temperament and character, in terms of their personalities. They're very different people.
Despite that, the president tweeting after the announcement, Speaker Paul Ryan is a truly good man, adding, "We are with you, Paul." It's not clear what Ryan's next move will be. Many experts are speculating he could make a run for statewide office in Wisconsin, or even the presidency. But the speaker says he's ready to settle down.
If I am here for one more term, my kids will only have ever known me as a weekend dad. I just can't let that happen.
Immediately after Ryan's announcement, Representative Kevin Cramer issued this statement. Paul Ryan became Speaker in response to a call of his colleagues. He entered the job with great integrity and grace and announced his retirement with the same level of dignity, adding his most significant legacy is a unified Republican conference. Also in Washington, tomorrow, Governor Doug Burgum joins lawmakers to meet with President Trump at the White House. Burgum says they'll be discussing ag and the future of trade. That meeting will be held at 11 a.m. Before meeting with the president, Burgum was busy today in Bismarck. Hundreds attended a day for prevention at Bismarck State College to discuss solutions for substance abuse in the state. Governor Burgum and his wife Catherine were among the speakers. During their time, they introduced a new contest called Innovative Recovery Competition. The winner will receive $50,000 for coming up with the best solution for addiction problems in North Dakota. The application opened today and will close on May 25th. The winner will be announced at the Recovery and Reinvented 2018 conference in Fargo. The event is September 5th at the Civic Center.
And we're already heard this morning from 4 different speakers about prevention strategies that have worked in nearby states like Wyoming that we could be applying here. So,
following a story we brought you yesterday, today the search intensified for a man who went missing along the Heart River Monday. Officials say they're unsure when or how 74-year-old Lynn Fairfield's boat capsized. Morton County Sheriff Kyle Kirkmeyer says the search has gone from a rescue to a recovery. Today, the mission hit a snag. Crews weren't able to dive because of large chunks of ice in the water.
Look at it daily, fly our drone over it, over the area, over the shore, and the next step would be is to get some individuals organized and to start doing some searches along the shoreline.
He says this is the worst time of year for this to happen because of the weather. The victim's phone was pinned in the area where he went missing, but it goes straight to voicemail. In legal news, a child neglect charge was just dismissed against a 23-year-old Minot woman accused of leaving her 3-year-old alone because she couldn't afford childcare. Octavia Kavon Pilot was charged with the felony after her 7-year-old daughter told a social worker at her school she was worried about her little brother who was home alone. Ward County prosecutor Rosa Larson says in court papers it was, quote, a case of poverty, and that the mother, quote, felt she was in a no-choice situation. Well, for children with nut allergies, everyday situations are a minefield of danger. Daniela Hurtado tells us about one girl who has tiptoed around people her entire life because of her allergies, but not anymore.
Things we take for granted, like snacking on Halloween candy or peanut butter, were off limits for 14-year-old Madison Spacer.
I didn't want to be that little 7th grader that made you not be able to eat what you wanted. So sometimes I kept it to myself because I didn't want to be that person.
A peanut allergy diagnosed at 3 years old.
Her face was swollen and her arms, and she had rashes up and down her arms.
And a decade of constant worry for her family.
We were terrified when we sent her to school.
In February, they received the news Madison was no longer allergic.
Your food allergies could likely persist even into adulthood. Luckily for Madison, she outgrew her peanut allergy.
And when the family found out,
we went right to the store to buy peanut butter and things of that nature. We're going through Jif like it's going out of style.
Madison now wants to make a difference.
When I grow up, I want to be an allergist because I want to help other kids like me that have allergies.
She was tested for Trina allergies Wednesday, but had a reaction.
Meantime, an experimental peanut allergy vaccine appears to work in mice. The vaccine is administered by the nose in 3 monthly doses, and 2 weeks after the final dose, University of Michigan researchers say it protected mice allergic to peanuts from reactions such as itchy skin and breathing problems. The team plans further studies in mice in order to learn how the food allergies are being suppressed. Findings appear in the Journal of Allergy and Clinical Immunology. Speaking of health, this weekend marks the Brave the Shave event that raises potentially life-saving funds for kids like Hunter Seifert. Hunter suffers from a rare form of cancer that he's already beaten once. The foundation paired up with the Be Positive Foundation to create a $150,000 grant. Hunter's mom, Julie, says the prognosis isn't great, but they're hopeful he can beat it again. Hunter hopes his journey can help someone else.
Even though this is a rare type, it's not a very treatable type, as I've come to learn. And so then for the small amount of people that do get it, hopefully with the research that they do, they can find a way to help them get better and not have it come back.
Brave the Shave's main event will take place on Saturday at the Missouri Valley Family YMCA in Bismarck, starting at 1:30. First responders are also braving the shave. Tonight was the Guns and Hoses Brave the Shave event, where firefighters and police officers shaved their heads to raise money. Like I mentioned, the main Brave the Shave event takes place on Saturday. In environmental news, when President Obama was first in office, the EPA started an initiative to have all cars run 54.4 miles per gallon of fuel by 2025. The increased standards were intended to reduce fuel consumption and vehicle emissions. But now, Donald Trump's administration is throwing out those standards meant to protect our air. Today, we spoke to Jesse Peterson, ID Ford's vice president, who says the decision won't hinder or help his business. Peterson says the standards won't affect automakers in developing and advancing their technology in their fuel economy vehicles.
One thing it has done over the last 10 years is, it's made automakers get creative to come up with new engine options for consumers.
The change in these standards could affect populous states like California, but might not make much of a difference here. Frontier Airlines is back at the Bismarck Airport on its seasonal routes. The airline will be flying 3 nonstop trips to Denver weekly. Airport Director Greg Haug says Frontier Airlines is a customer favorite because of their low fares.
People have more opportunity to save money on air travel. I mean, that's bottom line, because their average fares are so much lower than, the legacy carriers.
Haug says he hopes to have Frontier Airlines year-round instead of just seasonally. A Pierce County farmer was just fined $2,800 and lost his hunting privileges for 2 years after illegally killing deer. Daryl Klein admitted to killing at least 7 of them because he was frustrated that deer were eating his grain. A game warden found nearly 20 carcasses around the farmstead south of Rugby in January. Klein must also forfeit a rifle and scope to the Game and Fish Department. Still ahead, dozens of lives are saved thanks to some quick-thinking neighbors. That story next.
And we've got some showers, not necessarily in Williston, but a little farther south and west.
Residents raced to wake their neighbors last night as their apartment complex goes up in flames. This is in North Hollywood, California. This is the footage of Good Samaritans. Fire crews say flames broke out around 1 this morning. 3 people were injured with burns and smoke inhalation. Police believe the fire may have started at a nearby homeless encampment. Homeowners in Florida are picking up the pieces tonight after twin twisters touched down in Fort Lauderdale. One striking downtown and the other touching down near Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. The storm downed trees and knocked out powers to hundreds of homes in Broward County. A large tree fell on the home of this Fort Lauderdale woman. The damage is so bad, she is now displaced. The American Red Cross is helping her relocate. Several people are missing following a landslide in southern Japan today. Rescuers are searching for 6 people after a landslide buried a small cluster of homes at the foot of a steep slope. What caused that landslide is not clear. Speaking of natural disasters, researchers say smoke from wildfires may trigger a heart complication or stroke in vulnerable people. After the 2015 California wildfires, researchers found a spike in emergency department visits for heart attacks, strokes, and other cardiovascular complications. This risk was largely seen in adults 65 and older. The Oklahoma teacher walkout enters its 8th day. Educators are marching on the state capitol demanding more money for schools. Last month, lawmakers raised teacher salaries by an average of about $6,000 a year and allocated an extra $50 million for education. Teachers say it's not enough. The problems they're facing need more money. In Illinois, synthetic pot is to blame for the death of at least 3 people. The fake weed is reportedly laced with rat poison. More than 100 others are suffering from severe bleeding. The CDC says there may be additional cases. Symptoms include coughing up blood and having severe bloody noses. And another bank is putting restrictions on gun makers. Bank of America will stop lending to manufacturers of military-style firearms used by civilians. A spokesman for the company says it wants to help reduce mass shootings in any way it can. Wall Street is losing its taste for gun makers ever since the mass shooting in February. All right, switching gears a little bit now, let's throw it over to Henry for a full check on our weather. Today, communities across the country are supporting their institutions of higher learning as part of Giving Day. It happens to be the first ever Giving Day for Minot State. Reporter Molly Hurley was there. Take a look at this. A puppy in Texas gets his head stuck in a tire rim. Luckily, rescue crews were able to help him out. After freeing him, he was reunited with a very relieved mom. This all unfolding on Easter. All of the puppies were spayed and neutered and will be up for adoption next week. Henry, you never let me get a West Dakota Fox News at 9 puppy.
We need one.
We do.
We need one. It'll be great for everyone. But hey, something great for everyone here. Sky Spy photo. I meant to show this earlier, but this was taken by Carmel in Regent, North Dakota. Check it out. But Thursday night into Friday, that's where we're talking about chances of accumulating snow, especially across the far south, southwestern North Dakota, and southeastern Montana. Chilly weekend ahead, though.
All right, we could name the puppy Foxy, we could name it like a weather thing, we could name it Doppler, or just Henry Blakes Jr.
But that's me.
They're all good. We'll see you tomorrow.